Welcome everyone to another edition of the political recap stream over on the Moisky Live YouTube channel. Bit close up at the moment on me, and usually it's Trups hosting, but he's running a little late. There's no problem with that. I'm going to start, and we will dive into some subjects that I have set aside, British related, that I wanted to cover. Good evening to Moosey. M-U-C-Y, if it's anything like Lucy, let's go with Moosey. Jensen, Quinn, Ian Smith, Spirit Upgrades. Hope you're all doing well. Today, before we get into the subject of the thumbnail there, I got an echo on the audio. Okay, let's have a look. Audio. I shouldn't have an echo at all. Oh dear, what's happened? I've got an echo on the audio. That can't be an echo, because it's not, on OBS it's not showing up as an echo. That's interesting. Is there something playing in the background? No, there isn't. No, I don't see anything, I'm afraid, that can cause an audio. Oh yeah, it's John. Oh right, jeez. Ah, you boomer. Amazing. Hello to Yorkshire Chick, Kit and Katrina. Hi, Joe. Cyrene, Brony Spoon, and Crunchy Karma. Yes. As Trups isn't here yet, I thought what I'd do is go over some subjects I have set aside. I was going to cover on this channel in videos. But I haven't got round to it. And I thought, well, hello, Globus Hystericus. I thought, screw it, let's go over them now. So there is an article on the BBC titled, "Can Jeremy Corbyn Secure a Legacy?" So, people are wondering what he could possibly achieve. Hello, Listeles. What he can achieve with only a few weeks left in his current occupation. We don't know yet if he'll get in the shadow cabinet. But I don't think he will if Lisa Nandy or Keir Starmer are elected. It's obvious, really. Because he's toxic. At the moment, he is, and he will, draw attention away from the party, and by doing so cause a number of issues which doesn't benefit them in the slightest, really, does it? Now, they think that Rebecca Long-Bailey's campaign at present is flagging, even with the cash injections. Some believe it because she's trying to distance herself from the continuity Corbyn tag and is trying to stylize herself as a continuity socialist. I have no idea what a continuity socialist is. In truth, it makes no sense. Essentially, I think the only thing I can draw a comparison to is that she still somewhat stands by the spending policies of Jeremy Corbyn, which is fine. I mean, you can do that if you want, but in retrospect, it's not beneficial in the slightest, is it? It doesn't help anyone. He'll achieve nothing. Exactly. He'll be remembered for being inactive. He'll be remembered for not doing enough. He'll be remembered for not having a position. Much like Brexit, where he eventually said, I'm going to let you all decide. I'm not going to take a position on it, which is absolutely leaderless, in the sense that if he was leader, you should have a position and lead us through it. You don't sit back and go, I'm going to let you all squabble like you're gladiators within an arena. No. You make the decision. That's the whole point of someone being in charge. The buck stops at you. Ball, buck, whatever. It stops at you. And then his position on this, I mean, with the replacement thing, I get it. He shouldn't take a position in the first place. It would be very wrong. Considering his toxic touch, it wouldn't benefit anyone. Although I would say, he has been appearing in some of her advertisement campaign videos, which is quite strange. But then he is, and she is, closely tied to Momentum, which Corbyn popularised, to be honest. He popularised them around the time that he he got into office in 2015. Trups is running late, hence why we're doing a close-up of the desk with me here in the thumbnail. Honestly, it's not. I wasn't going to make it the main topic, but I do actually want to talk about some of the points on it later. So he's running a little late, but it's all good. There is currently a YouGov poll of party members, currently, and it suggests that she is so far behind. The survey report, I'll tell you what I'll do. If I tiny URL it, I will put it in the chat so you can see just how badly behind she is. Because it's not good. YouGov poll. Yeah, she's just getting destroyed right now. And it doesn't do Rebecca Long Bailey any favours. There are a number of very prominent Corbynistas who actually have expressed support for Sir Keir Starmer, which would include the Momentum former national coordinator, Laura Parker, and a journalist activist called Paul Mason, both of whom are actually somewhat known. And despite appearing in this video, Corbyn has made it a point he will not say who he's going to back, but he will offer his support in the event she becomes leader, with the obvious premise being that he'll probably get a job in the Foreign Office, which is fine. I'd rather make him an ambassador to Micronesia and just leave him there, because I think that's probably the best thing to do. Now,
I'm here.
Good evening. Get to you in a moment.
Hello.
Trupsy Wupsy.
Yes, hello.
There is a debate amongst supporters at the moment within the Labour Party about just how far Rebecca Long Bailey pushes these dividing lines on subjects like Brexit and the selection of MPs, which is kind of strange because because there are a lot of people who do support Labour who want to rejoin. She has said it wouldn't be in the national interest. There's a divide. The selection of MPs, no, don't change that system, please. It's really stupid, and your idea, Rebecca, was absolutely joke-worthy. Now, if... Interestingly, the YouGov poll I linked, it suggested that even if Jeremy Corbyn himself were a candidate in this party election, even he would only get 28% of members' first preference votes, which is how they do this. They don't do it as a most votes wins. They do it on a preference system until everyone's eliminated and there's two left, and then they go with those two and the preferences then balance it out. It's how Corbyn won last time. Very strange, but it's how it happened. So Keir Starmer would get 40%, so he wouldn't win. You have to get 50% or more, but he would still be ahead of the current leader. Some people who do support Keir Starmer feel that his 10 pledges, which are key commitments, some of which are from the Corbyn era, such as renationalising the rail, mail, water, and anti-union law repealing. But some of those supporters believe that he will move to remove some of the personalities associated with the current opposition leader. I don't think that's a bad thing. If you're afraid of losing power, you should have won one of the many times you had a chance to win. It is called a consequence. In fact, it is the stupidest thing to think that you are entitled to stay in power when someone new comes along, just because you worked alongside each other in the shadow cabinet before. It's well known and established, for example, that Keir Starmer did not agree with many of Corbyn's policies, much like Lisa Nandy. So if they win, you can be pretty sure the continuity socialists are done. There'll probably be one or two that stay, especially since a number of those allies, 3 of them in fact, are the 3 main contenders for deputy leader of the party. And the leader, whoever he is or she is, does not get to choose that person. Now, I actually said that the results for this will be announced at the beginning of March. I was wrong. The way it works is that the nominations were dealt with up until the 24th of February, when the ballot opens. The ballots close on the 2nd of April, which means we have a full month month of Jeremy Corbyn before we find out on the 4th of April the results. One of these three candidates is pushing for unity, which is a typical turn of phrase used because all the parties, none of them are truly united except for the SNP on one issue. And that's because they're nationalists. Yes. The Conservatives are always divided, and so are Labour. It's a typical thing to come out with, and no, it doesn't work. But it does get a lot of people saying, oh, maybe this could work this time. That's what Keir Starmer's hoping to win with. And it's worked because he's got most of the unions backing him. Lisa Nandy's second because she has a huge amount of support from the members. And then you've got Rebecca Long-Bailey making up the numbers. I'm wondering how long until she gets eliminated, or how much more money they can throw at her to get the young people interested, in its swag. But it'll be very interesting to see how that all falls apart. It does mean that we will have PMQs for the next 4 to 5 weeks with Jeremy Corbyn, which I'm excited for because he has 4 weeks to actually dazzle us. Maybe he'll do what he started with, and he'll start with the questions from members who had sent him letters or emails, because that was actually, I quite enjoyed that, and it made it more personal, and it made it quite clear then the Prime Minister wasn't responding to the opposition, she was responding directly to the person who sent the message, which I think is Jeremy's better option than bleating on like he has been. The Conservative Party isn't conservative, so I've been told. I won't be drawing on that one just yet, though. Right. Some think, to finish off with Keir Starmer, that if he wins, will construct a front bench that will include those from the left, but those who are also a bit more centre, like Rachel Reeves being considered for Shadow Chancellor and Yvette Cooper possibly being thrown in somewhere as well. I personally don't mind either. I'm not a huge fan of Yvette Cooper with her Remainer nonsense from Question Time, but it's over. You lost. As long as she's able to move on and others, then it won't be such an issue, will it? I am going to, because I forgot to do it, quickly archive the link for an article that I was referencing a number of bits here from. And if you are at all interested, feel free to give it a read and let me know what you think down below, because I think it's quite fascinating, and in truth it does give an opportunity to discuss a number of key factors when it comes to those who are going for it, but also those who are leaving. I know we're losing John McDonnell, I know we're losing Diane Abbott, both of whom hold incredibly strong seats. I have to say, I'm quite impressed how they just got the most devoted seats, and I think that's very safe them to go on the back benches then, because there's no real risk of them losing them. Much like Jeremy, for that matter, in Islington North. Unless the party... Actually, that's an interesting one. The party lines a few years ago were being discussed about being moved so that they could reduce the House of Commons from 650 to 600. That would mean 50 constituencies would have to be moved or lost. To do that, Islington North, which is Corbyn's, would have been lost. So I find that quite interesting. But it didn't happen. Maybe it will in the future. Although it's just as likely we'll get a constitution, which I also doubt will happen. But I'd love the idea of it being discussed again. Cringe. So, Trupsy Wupsy, how are you?
Hi. I got home from work, okay, so technically, I shouldn't have been at work as long as I was. But I ended up being at work for longer because my dumbass couldn't wake up on Monday. So because I am a salaried employee, that means I have to put in 40 hours, but I'm also an engineer, which means I can put in those hours anywhere. So, because I ended up coming in late on Monday, I ended up staying later on Friday, but yeah, that's been my life.
Would you like me to tell you a somewhat moderately funny story then?
Is it regarding Sophane?
No, it's actually something that happened to me today.
Okay, go for it.
I have had a subscription, and people on my server know this, to My Geekbox. It's like Loot Crate, but a British one. It's a
Oh, I saw this tweet.
okay. So it's a subsidiary of the Hut Group, as is My Protein. I actually have some My Protein products courtesy of Joe Shade's partner. And today I got a message saying that Hermes had delivered my crate. I was like, oh, exciting! Box was left outside in the rain. Okay, it's not the same box. Inside, I've got the bag here. Blue raspberry creatine monohydrate. It doesn't look like a pop vinyl or a t-shirt to me, and I don't think I can wear it. I've actually received an email from them apologising. They've sent out a replacement box, so I fully expect to get more creatine. And I hit up Joe's partner on WhatsApp, and he's agreed he wants the creatine. I don't need it. Oh, that's so bad. I'm tempted to cancel my thingy with them. I've had it for years, but they've goofed a couple times in the last year. I'm like, you know what? You sent me
Subscription boxes are hard to keep straight, honestly.
Well, I have for 4. I've had I had a light version for about 3 years, which is like the half size of the regular one. I used Patreon. It cost like $10 a month. It was all right. I upgraded to the full size one 2 years ago, and I only the last 6 months I've had 2 problems. Once was when they lost my box and they just gave me a refund, which took about 3 months to get to me. Okay, could you not just like send me a replacement box? But yeah,
No, that'd be too easy.
I got sent creatine, which I thought was great. Yeah, I know it's not as exciting, and my tweet was. They have replied to me on Twitter, by the way. But I'd already resolved the issue via emails.
They did or they didn't?
My Geekbox reached out to me on Twitter eventually, but I'd already resolved the issue with them because I sent them a picture of the creatine, along with the postage and the tracking, so they could see it and confirm it. A picture of the cat because she wouldn't get out of shot. A picture of a middle finger, and a picture of a clown, which was actually a massive head mount thing of Pennywise.
Oh, so speaking of the antics on Twitter today, I see you've become a hippo.
Yes. Would you like to know why?
I would love the chat to know why, because not all of them can sit on Twitter as much as we do.
I don't touch
especially
it
when I apparently have to be at work
it wasn't
for too
until
long.
it wasn't until someone told me what the fuck was going on that I actually knew, because even I didn't know at first. And it was because when I made my video about the doxing of Charlie Gold, I don't care about. And no offense to Charlie Gold if you're watching, I don't care in the context of any other content. I don't care. I cared about the doxing, and that was the point. And then somebody called Fatty Gold, who does response videos or clips of other channels, including mostly Charlie Gold, did a very short 1-minute video on me, accusing me of doxing, but in a more cute, derpy manner, and said that I was a hippo. And so that came from it. And so Sith and I, on my little gay ops server, he did some pictures, and I was like, tweet them. Where I'm down for. I think it's funny, so he did. Apparently I'm fat. Okay.
One of my favorite comments that was made on that video was, for a guy who sources Kiwi Farms, he's a little white knighty. I was like, ha, lol.
I didn't source Kiwi Farms though, did I?
No, I think they're pulling from your Amberlynn Reed shit too.
Yeah, it was references, and I'd mentioned that I had gone there to look for because they're very clever. They do notice bits, and I'd gone there just to look through it to see if it was more correlation.
Oh, the farms is a good place to go.
But I'd already watched all the content, so my idea was, I'm going to see if it stacks up, and they made the same points. Okay, I'm going to be honest and mention that because it's accurate. And yeah, that's interesting. I wasn't white knighting for Charlie. It's the principle of doxing. It really is just the principle. And if you can't understand that, then I don't want. It feels arrogant to say it, but you're clearly low-level intellect. And everyone else is, by definition, everyone else is like a god by comparison. If you can't get this very basic concept, don't dox, then you already have a problem. Oh
yeah, well, some people find it a valid avenue to to get a gotcha at their enemies because they
Yeah.
don't understand the implications.
Yeah, so I noticed
Um,
I noticed that the cheap gotchas as well, and Alex, irate Alex, yeah, he's getting very cross with the cheap gotchas, and I'm sat back like, I don't care. It's hilarious to me. I just don't have a reason to. Why should I care? Cheap gotchas are the thing I watched when I was making response videos. It's just meh. It's just who cares? Your cheap gotcha falls flat because you've proven that you didn't pay attention in the first place. And much like Fatty Gold's video, it falls flat because it's all assertion. None of it can be proved. In fact, I could debunk it quite easily. I don't believe I'm a hippo. But
no, but I loved the photoshops, dude. I
oh
swear to
yeah.
God, that
What,
shit was
Sith?
hilarious.
I told Sith to put those on Twitter when he did them. He was like, I didn't have time to
I
do better. I'm
enjoyed
like,
every bit of it.
yeah. Sith, he literally messaged those to me, and I'm like, to Twitter. I need them, and yeah, they're very good. I have to give him crap. I can't give him crap for that because yeah, I told him to do it in the first place. But yeah, I've had to be honest. Today's been probably one of my busiest days on Twitter because of that. My notifications are in. I can't. I'm not reading all that. I just can't be asked.
The only reason my notifications have been going off was because I retweeted one of Quartering's videos,
Mm-hmm. And not
and
not because I called you Trupsy Wupsy.
um, well, that was funny. But no, then I asked Magog what was going on between him and Sofane
Oh,
today.
jeez. Oh, I know what that was about. That was because of the difference between a
It was
socialist
dumb.
and
It was fucking dumb.
right. It was a socialist and a communist thing, and it became because Sofane asked him if he thought there was a difference, and Magog said yes, there's a difference between a socialist and a communist, much like there is between a socialist and a democratic socialist-ish. And then Sofane went off on one, and there's something called subtweeting. Now I didn't know what this was. It's is it quote retweeting but without tagging them? I just think if you're going to quote retweet someone, surely they're getting a notification anyway, aren't they? Because you're retweeting them. But if they're not, apparently this is a dick move on the internet. If that's the case, oh dear, I broke Rule 0 many times. And by the way, if anyone doesn't know, Sofane he's precious. I like Sofane, but
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I have him muted, so I only saw Magog's sub-retweet things. I clicked on the tweet, went back to the original thing about an hour before I started streaming, and I was reading it, and I was like, difference between a socialist and a communist. Is that what started this, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, democratic socialist, seizing means of production. Not too dissimilar to a socialist. And then the argument went from there, and yeah. And the communist thing as well. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's so
Yeah, same.
Go on. I'm sure you've got an opinion on this one.
Okay, so I didn't even like look at. I just saw the last tweet before they started basically going at each other like from a distance.
Yeah.
I saw the last tweet before realizing that, oh wow, this is a dumb argument, because if anybody is involved in this argument and doesn't understand what the differences are, I can't help you. You're too far gone at this point.
Yep.
And so I kind of just left it at that. I didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, but I decided to ask Magog what he thought about, okay, you're getting bombarded by, his fans. I've heard the concept, hey, all press is good press. Is this still true? No. The answer was no.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of them showed up.
Yeah, that's going to happen. I've noticed a few comments today because of my recent doxing video, and it's impressive when one person makes a few comments just how many people then just come over and just start putting the very blind off-topic comments there or not understanding the context well enough. I think it's quite astonishing how limited some people can be in that regard. And it feels arrogant to say it that way, but it really is if you just don't. If you're trying to inject into a conversation and not understand it's just them two talking. I know it's a public forum and all that, but let them have their conversation. Just watch how it unfolds. It's so much easier. You end up getting angry.
Yeah, and I just inserted myself a little bit, and then I was like, I can't stop myself. Must troll, must troll. All right, trolling.
Yeah, you have to in that moment. Although I'm surprised you got as far as you did, because Fane did indicate after the subtweeting stuff that he just blocked a load of people. Okay, so Fane, I didn't realise you'd gone down that path, but fair enough. Your mentions have been going nuts since 2016, mate, and you know why. Oh dear. If he was British, I think he would be one of those very salty Ramonas, and now rejoiners. Actually, I should ask him what he thought about Brexit, actually. Oh, wait. Who did a vid on Meg? Someone called Fatty Gold, Patriarch of the Sith. Do not go there, though. I swear this. Do not go there and harass them. No one should. I know Saki left a comment. I know Roger left a comment, because I know those two, because they're regulars on this and all my other channels. And Saki's a mate-ish. But I just...
Yeah, but he's also like not one of the people that if you tell him don't do something, he's one of the people who will look at you and go, "All right, hold my beer."
Yeah, well, which one? Yeah. So what's been going on, to go away from all this, what's been going on, Fatty Gold in Ian Smith named in honour of Charlie Gold. That's a content creator they don't like. What has been going on in America?
So we are currently in the midst of a what's the word? A pandemic scare?
Oh, the Ebola, yes.
Yeah, well, yes. I believe somebody put on my fucking video that I had done yesterday. It's called Weeaboo Flu.
Weeaboo Flu.
I liked that one. That one was a good one.
I haven't heard that one. That's good. I like that. Beats Hong Kong Fluey. I prefer it.
Yep.
Weeaboo Flu.
I thought Weeaboo Flu was pretty damn good.
At least,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, being a bit creative at least. I'll give them that. So, what's going on then with that then in your country? Because there is some stuff going on here, but it's very slow.
So for us, the CDC came out and basically said, "All right, so it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the coronavirus spreads through the United States."
Right.
Okay. And that was basically like their like end all be all, like all encompassing comment of coronavirus, which basically sent people into a tizzy. And the next day, or no, it was later on the same day that Trump then addressed the nation and said, "Okay, Mike Pence is going to lead the effort for coronavirus."
Okay. Oh, God, I
This
saw
whole
that.
thing,
Oh.
everyone got so fucking pissed.
Now, is that because... right, so the funny thing I saw there was someone put the comment that the reason Pence has been put there in charge of it is because if it goes wrong, everyone can just blame him.
I wouldn't doubt that, to be honest with you.
Mike Pence looks like the kind of guy who'd be like, "Sorry, America, yeah, it was all my fault. I trusted God and he failed to deliver."
I wouldn't. Yeah, you know what? That's not too bad.
It's all I can think of.
I also think it's going to be like, okay, Trump.
Trump's. I blame Trups. Where's Trups? You still here?
I clicked the button. My bad.
Oh, right. Gee, I wonder what happened then. Carry on.
Yeah. So, yeah, Trump. Trump's busy with re-election right now.
Of course.
Well, we're not really bidding on Pence, really. So he can be in charge of the outbreak while Trump, for example, is in my state.
Oh, is he?
Right now.
I thought he was in India.
No, he's in South Carolina.
Oh, okay. I thought he was somewhere else. My mistake.
A lot closer than you'd expect, actually.
Oh, you gonna go?
Yeah, I thought about going.
Go get a handshake or something. Or
parking lots are all full. People. There's literally fucking tents outside, dude.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what are you gonna do?
Well, in terms of the Trump thing, I'm not gonna go to the rally. I'm just gonna like watch it from home, I guess. Maybe.
Fair enough.
Probably not. I'm probably just gonna hear about it. But in terms of the coronavirus thing, like right before all of this happened, you didn't hear much of anything happening with coronavirus in the US. Like everyone kind of talked about it as like this far off thing happening somewhere else, and oh, it's so terrible. Well, at least it's not here. Then it came here.
Right.
And then it was like, what's Trump gonna say? And then he was like, we'll be fine. Coronavirus will come and go like everything else does, and we will endure, and we'll be fine.
Yep.
And all of his opponents were like, how dare he say everything will be fine?
Yeah, how dare you be an optimist, I guess.
Yeah, well, the markets are going into the shitter at the moment
Yeah, I
because
saw
of
that. Yeah, I saw.
I bought Bitcoin.
I saw our country also suffered. Your Dow's down, what, 1,000 points or something?
Yeah, I think so.
I saw a mention of it earlier. It's not great, but when you know the reason for it, just find a way to get on top of that, and I'm sure it'll bounce back.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue. That's why I just like jumped on some of the biggest drops, just in case they go up.
Yeah,
They bounce back.
of course.
But in terms of the market, like everything's people doing panic sells and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you have is you have individuals who are like being like, oh, Pence. Well, I can't believe you put Pence in charge. Don't you know what Pence is like? He's a science denier. He believed in conversion therapy for gays, and he helped 80 something people in Indiana get HIV. And I'm like, well, okay, hold the fuck on. When you said that he enabled people to get HIV, what you mean is there was a bunch of fucking druggies in Indiana and they were sharing needles because HIV was relatively new at the time and people didn't know too much better.
Mm-hmm.
And when the state was like, why don't we give them a way to change out their needles so they don't they don't contract hepatitis or HIV, and no one did anything because, well, I don't want to enable drug users, then yeah, you might have some clashing thought processes, right?
So,
You
yeah.
might have some issues trying to do what you think is right.
Yeah. There is a verified user on Twitter called Ted Lieu, who he's a member of Congress.
That's a senator, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he's a member of Congress.
House
and
rep. Yeah,
he
House rep.
put out a tweet saying, to Donald Trump, Chief of Staff Mulvaney said the coronavirus is not a death sentence, but it's a death sentence for about 2% who get it. Let's say a school with 2,000 kids has 25% who get it. 2% death rate means 10 kids would die. The administration needs to stop downplaying it. Somebody very kindly underneath it put out the current COVID-19 fatality rate by age. 0 to 9-year-olds, no fatalities yet. In fact, the only fatalities noted were 10 to 19-year-olds and above. Right. Has the administration been downplaying this?
The administration has been trying to keep it under control. Downplaying would be a way to describe that. So, yes.
Okay, so in the UK, we've had a similar problem because our Prime Minister has been somewhat inactive. In fact, he was called out for it in PMQs when not assembling Cobra or calling a meeting of Cobra. And it's just, he finally did it and has finally recognised that that there is a problem in the country because two people died or 2 people got it. Others have been talking about it, and every time I've seen the fear and all the anger, and obviously it's a huge issue, and yes, I fully recognise that. I'm going to trust the scientists to get the job done to find the cure. I trust them, and also they're making my job in 2020 easier. But I'm not afraid of this at the moment. Yes, there's a possibility it could be as bad as the SARS issue not so long ago, or the foot in mouth issue, or the any other virus that's ever happened in this country in the last however many years you want to go back, really, or your country for that matter. But I'm going to trust that we can make the advancement needed to deal with it, and I have no reason to be afraid of it because it's just, I don't know, I'm not bothered. And for those who don't know, Cobra, it means Cabinet Office Briefing Rooms A. Yeah, it's just a meeting room essentially, but Cobra's considered this big deal. It's not, because there's a meeting briefing room B as well, but it doesn't have the nice ring to it of Cobra. It's kind of dull. But our Prime Minister's finally.
Cobra is a little bit cooler.
Yeah, I always think of Cobra Command. I'm glad that the Prime Minister in this country is taking it seriously and obviously now wants to put more time into it. And obviously he'll have to because the economy's taken a knock and he wants to invest money in it. Can't do that if the economy's down. So he has to pounce on this not just for optics' sake with the flooding as well, but also because he needs money. Yeah, who'd have believed it? It's quite sad how long it took him in this country to get
Well,
on
the
top
thing
of
is,
it.
right, this coronavirus thing is a very strange beast. And I did a video on it yesterday. I put it on my channel. It was just basically the breakdown from the beginning to about where we are now. I excluded a lot of the nitty details, but more about how the news had migrated over time.
Mm-hmm.
But what's strange is right now our right-wing media and our left-wing media are going at each other, pointing the finger and saying, you guys are politicizing this.
Yeah.
And I'm, sitting there, I'm listening, and I go, okay, you're both wrong. You're both politicizing it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because this is the most interesting story that we've got. Because any other story would be about how Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, Mike Bloomberg are basically talking. That's about it. That's about the extent of the news, because no one else apparently cares about anything else in this country. I've had to scour the internet to find anything that wasn't talking about some Democratic candidate or Trump. And it has been hard these past few weeks in general.
Right.
But that's all they're talking about. So right now it's, oh, did you know that Trump had cut funding to the CDC? Oh yeah, well, he's gutting our he's taking away our ability to defend this. Elizabeth Warren gets up there. I'm gonna take every nickel and dime out of the wall and I'm gonna put it to fighting coronavirus. And MSNBC is like, oh my god, so brave. Oh my god.
Actually, on that subject, I did put in our sources a picture, which I forgot to put on the screen, but I might put on the screen for the remainder of the stream actually, because it actually freaked me out. Along with a video of Pete Butter, whatever his name is, criticizing
booty gig.
Booty gig? Are you telling me Pete likes a booty gig? Yes.
He is
criticizing.
He is a gay.
Criticizing the nostalgia for Cold War era authoritarian regimes, which I thought was quite funny because Sanders got really triggered. Have you seen the picture underneath it, by the way?
Let me. Is it in sources?
It's in sources. Yeah, it really is.
I don't see it. I just see tweets.
Oh, okay, I'll put the picture on the screen. Give me a moment. I'll just make sure.
The last thing I see is Sajid Javid on sources.
Let me just get this picture here, and there we go. There you go, everyone. It's arguably a nightmare-inducing picture, the likes of which you will never want to see. I'll tell you what I'll do. In sources, I'll even dump it again, just so you have it again. Processing. Okay, take your time, Discord. Whatever. It's on the stream for everyone else. The debate thing. I thought it was quite funny because, again, I couldn't tell who won. But I did actually watch your debate, by the way. Oh, the upload failed.
That's a terrifying fucking image. I just now saw this for the
first
Right? Holy fucking Christ.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my dear God.
Yes. It's glorious.
That's a serial killer.
That is the best thing. That is a Spider-Man villain. Yeah, that's the Green Goblin unmasked.
Oh my God, you're right. It is. Oh dear Jesus. Does that mean Hunter Biden is Hobgoblin?
He might be at Jesus Christ. He he might be at the same time as he's smiling, based on his eye movement. be trying to take a dump in his grandpa panty pamper nappy thing.
And I'm sorry, but you know, honestly, Tony cannot be Spider-Man. He cannot
Also-
be anyone who directly interacts with Spider-Man. He's just
Also,
he doesn't look it.
are his eyes don't they look like they're different colors? Like one looks like it's black. It just looks so
Yeah.
dark. I don't like to criticize people's appearance. I really don't, but you're all welcome. That's staying there for the remainder of the stream. Yeah. Maybe the Joker. I mean, that is quite the smile.
I thought about that initially, but I was like, that's too easy.
It's too easy, yeah. Oh, damn. That's such a brutal image, isn't it? So, to get away from that to the debate, and by the way, who won? Do you think won that debate? Because I couldn't tell, and I watched it.
Oh my god, no one fucking won that debate. They were yelling at each other too damn much.
It was an absolute nightmare, by the way. Yeah.
They were just literally like, you remember Internet Blood Sports? Everybody here remembers Internet Blood Sports,
Oh,
right?
it's still going. There is still some of that going on another channel. It has like 80 subs.
Okay, cool.
That's run by
useless.
Tom.
But you remember at its peak?
Oh yeah,
you remember
oh,
at
yeah.
its peak.
The one that
where
like
it was just yelling.
So the one I mentioned is actually run by Tonka as well. It's just I think he's got a strike at the moment
Yeah,
or
but
something.
Tonka's a fucking failure.
Yes, but he still gets the views because the 80 sub channel's getting about 500-600 views per stream. So it's just one of those very interesting
For name
points.
recognition, and people love to watch it. Oh!
Well done.
Sorry, my water bottle just like exploded on me.
It's fine. It's fine.
If that's a sound.
Yeah.
But no, he's a fucking mess.
I've
That
heard.
whole anyway. But the point of my analogy was, remember when people would just be yelling over each other constantly.
Yeah, constantly.
That's exactly what happened. And one of the comments that was made about Biden is they are pretty sure he's fucking got dementia.
Oh yeah, people talking about him having Alzheimer's, aren't they, as well?
Because during the luncheon before the debate, he fucking said that he was running for Senate.
Is he going for both just in case?
No, he's just not sure of where the fuck he is anymore.
Oh really?
Oh my god, it's so bad.
Oh no. Biden, what's going on, mate? Oh no. I would feel sorry for him, but I don't want to. Okay.
But absolutely not. No. I think he's very much. I mean, he's 78, man.
Is he?
Yeah, him and Bernie are like 78, 77.
How old is Trump? He must be near them.
Nah, he's younger.
Is
He's
he?
like 74?
Oh, right. He's got a few years on him. Okay.
I want to point out, though, you know, all things considered, maybe having a 70-year-old president isn't the wisest thing we've ever decided.
Yeah, but isn't based on your little rules? Isn't the earliest they can run for top
we
office?
have a rule where you must be, I think, 45.
Yeah, it's 45. I remember looking at this once because remember when I said to you I wanted to move to America once. I was curious enough when I looked into this to find out how long you had to be in the States for to get nationalized. How long then could you run for an office position? You know, high office. And I was looking at that. I remember seeing that, and I thought, hang on. And then when I saw, was it Tulsi Gabbard was running, I was like, hang on, how old is she again? Is she old enough? Because she doesn't look it. I was very concerned.
I think that's why. I think that's why some of the individuals on Twitter ended up calling her "mommy."
You know, that's fine. They can call her whatever they want.
Yes, well, that's fine. Yes,
I won't judge that.
But that's fine. I don't know where I was going with that, but I just wanted to.
35, not 45. My mistake. That's one of the.
Oh, is it?
That's a very strange thing to have, though, isn't it? To be.
Yeah, it's a very arbitrary number. Because
but then I think we have a similar thing in the UK. I know Cameron was very young when he became Prime Minister, but he was still, I think, mid-30s at the time. I think he was just over that kind of age limit thing. I thought it was quite fascinating. Yeah. Oh, you're going to look at it, aren't you?
what?
I thought that's what you were googling at the moment or something.
No. Um, but no, I've been trying to like gather my thoughts on this whole thing because our news cycle is so fucked that there's no cohesive thing to follow. Honestly, Twitter is more easy to follow in a logical progression of shit going wrong than the news, because what one place will report, another place will report like a day later and call it breaking.
Right.
Um, and that begins this weird cycle of like, you aren't reporting the whole story. Well, you didn't report the whole story when you first wrote it. Yeah, well, blah blah blah, meh. And then no one knows anything.
All right.
And that's one of the biggest concerns of the U.S. people right now when it comes to coronavirus, because we're like, hey, can somebody just give us like a concise fucking what's going on? Because apparently people are getting infected with the disease that we don't have, a cure for, and we'd like to know, about where we're at.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And unfortunately, that's that's about it. That's about where we stand with that. Oh God, it's a total mess.
It does sound it, but at least it's
Hmm.
interesting.
I mean, it certainly is interesting, and especially with how the media is reporting on like Trump's actions as of recently. Um, like it's like looking in a mirror, honestly, for them,
Mm-hmm.
because the MSNBC will get on a panel and they'll pull on like a bunch of these people, will be like, is Trump uh going to be politically damaged for this mishandling of the coronavirus? Meanwhile, on CNN, they have Brian Stelter on, and they're like, could you believe the Fox News people said the left-wing media is politicizing this? I mean, that's just absolutely crazy. But it's true. There are political ramifications, and we must mention that. Coming up next, watch how Trump fails because of his mishandling of the coronavirus. Stay tuned. And I'm like, hold the fuck up. Did you honestly say that with a straight face? Like that whole like thing. Did you really? What?
Oh dear, oh dear.
And then oh my god, and then it's like on the 5 at 5 on Fox News, it's like, now the Democrats, they just want to politicize this all the time, but I can't, we're out here trying to make solutions, but what the fuck they're doing? And then the one Democrat on that panel is like, isn't what you're doing right now politicizing it? He goes, well, yeah, but we're finding solutions too.
Isn't
And
it
I'm like, at least he fucking knows.
considering what for a politician, isn't it always going to be a very difficult thing to do to not politicize something they do?
Oh
it's just
well,
how do you do it but not?
that's actually a very good question. And especially when you deal with the fact that some of these like cults of personality leaders, Trump, for example, Bernie, everything they do is political inherently, even if it's completely benign.
Right.
But that's because they have a large following of individuals who will basically fawn over their every move. And if they were in any other career, no one would bat an eye.
Mm-hmm.
But because they're politicians, then they're like, well, this is somehow different. I mean, for example, take like the celebrity following of BTS, right? Like all the people who follow BTS, right? If BTS were to go on tour in one country but not another, they wouldn't say, I can't believe this K-pop group snubbed this country. I wonder what the political ramifications of this would be. Well, okay, calm down.
I
They
don't know.
might just not be
I
going
have
to
no
that
idea.
country.
I have no idea what BTS is.
It's a K-pop group,
What's K-pop?
Korean pop.
What?
It's one of actually the most popular bands across all nations at the moment, but they're a Korean pop group.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's like a boy band in Korean.
What's Korea?
It's Little China.
I'll take your word for it. I've honestly never heard of BTS. I don't. I know a neighbour who loves K-pop a few doors down, and she blasts it out really early hours of the morning, apparently. And I'm sat back like, I think someone did fire a one of those BB guns with the metal pellets through her window once, just to make her shut up. I haven't heard. Thankfully,
Damn, get fucked.
I've never heard that kind of music though. I've heard that she does it, but I'm always asleep, so it's all good. I feel like I'm not missing out much. I know. Okay, so I do know one thing. I know that that South Korea has military service rules, and that would affect the band because they can't get an exclusion. Unlike a football player, English football player, who managed to get an exclusion because what he was doing was considered in national interest. Stick to baby metal far better. I'll take your word for it.
Baby metal's cool.
Oh, right. Produced, but okay.
Rob Zombie. This is me kind of nerding out in music, but a baby metal group was getting flamed on Twitter by a bunch of people saying like, "Oh, they're not hard rock, types. They're not actual metalheads." And Rob Zombie came to their defense and said, "These 12-year-old girls are better metalheads than you will ever be." And I was like, "Fuck."
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I'm not a huge Rob Zombie fan. I know Joe in the chat is. I don't really give a shit about Rob Zombie, to be fair. His music's all right. The White, what's the White Snake? Is that it? Yeah, that stuff's all right.
White Snake's like a. I wouldn't even call them a metal group. They're more of a rock group from the 70s.
I'm vaguely pointing out how I vaguely know things. That's all I was doing there. I know direct stuff.
Oh, okay.
I just don't care about his music, to be honest. But the debates, and this is where the point is, everyone will debate every band that ever exists ever in any genre. It doesn't matter what you are. And the reason why is because they purity test everything to their own standards. Okay, go ahead, go nuts. What is and what is not for metal is then determined by their own standards. It doesn't matter who you are. If you then go and throw shit at someone for what they determined with their own standards, you're not making the band look better at all, because the person isn't going to change their mind. You're just throwing your audience at that person who's then going to get dogpiled for having an opinion. That's it. It doesn't make anyone look good, really. In fact, if anything, it just makes baby metal look like they can't defend themselves if they decide they want to engage in any criticism, which they won't. Because, as he already said...
Well, they're actually 12.
No, they're really not. They're a lot older, actually. Because I do bother...
Some of them are.
No, they really are older than that. The two that are left, anyway. The point is, you shouldn't be getting involved in that crap, because no one's going to agree regardless. And I know people like Rob Zombie. I'm not one of them. I don't give a shit about Rob Zombie, but it's not my thing. I don't care for the... It's more the I'm not so fond of the I know he's just standing up and doing what seems to be the right thing, but in reality he's not. He's just going towards a jaded fan or a jaded, blinded, narrow-minded metalhead who can't think of other genres. It's like how people look down at well, let's go with this. Say someone is heavily into thrash metal, and then they go and listen to power metal. They're not going to like it. Some won't, but if they don't like it, they're going to make it quite clear they won't, and they won't ever consider an option where it could be considered good. The same will apply to those who love power metal but don't like thrash metal. It's when you don't have that broad acceptance or tolerance towards other types of music, things like that happen. And it happens a lot in all music. So attacking anyone or just addressing them because they don't like something is stupid.
I have a couple friends, and one of my friends is an extreme punk rebel type, right? So she hates a lot of mainstream punk bands.
Are you sure she's a punk, not a hipster?
Maybe to both.
Carry on. Sorry.
She basically won't. She doesn't like bands that their lyrics don't mean anything.
Okay.
That their music, the actual like musicality of it, overwrites whatever the fuck they're whatever they're singing about. She likes very deep lyrics, and she will get very, very like snobby about
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that she gets very snobby about is actually musicals.
Oh, really?
And I looked at her and I go, but hold on, you get very snobby about lyrics that don't mean anything. So are you meaning to tell me that somebody telling a story in a musical that has implications of a larger issue,
Mm-hmm.
let's just say Newsies for the sake of it,
Yeah.
in which has a political ramification of what the words mean, as well as, you know what, actually, let's just take Spring Awakening, because that was literally a reference to living under Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me that you don't like musicals because why? Because they don't fit your way of listening to music, or because you are just really snobby about these three bands and that's it? Now,
Right.
I'm a bit of a snob in the sense that, look, I like every music from okay, there's very few music types that I just won't listen to in mass. And that's mainly rap and some country.
Mm-hmm.
I can listen to pretty much everything else.
I, by the way, am very similar. I don't care for rap. I don't really listen to country, so I can't judge that. Anything in the area ballpark where a rapper exists, or like R&B, hip hop stuff, dubstep, even house music, all that nonsense, I'm not a fan. I just
Hmm.
but I've given it a try, and I continue to try occasionally, but for the most part, no.
Oh,
Just
and I want to refer to Murgut in the chat. Rent is good, but
what's Rent?
Rent is a story about the turn of the millennia, where a bunch of
Oh,
the individuals who are basically living like starving artist types.
okay.
Um, they're living in a dilapidated building that's going to be foreclosed on, and somebody is trying to basically take their homes away. And the whole story is them trying to fight back against the man who's trying to out them, and them living with having AIDS. That's the whole show. Unfortunately, to Murgut's point, none of the songs in particular, except for I would say two or three, are good enough to say this has a overarching theme outside of just, for example, Light My Candle, which is a basically a weird flirty song between two of the main characters.
Okay.
I'm a theater nerd too, by the way.
You've told me that before, actually. I'm not,
Oh,
but
tell the chat.
I generally have no issue with musicals. I don't really take issue at all. I don't really. It's all part
I
of the
mean,
show. That's why I think they're all right, you know. But I've no
I
issue.
went to school for classical opera singing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, pretending to do Die Zauberflöte, which is the magic flute, um, and playing Sarastro in some of my tests where I had to sing certain songs in front of a panel of people who have done, off Broadway or, you know, semi-professional operas of the same shit. It's very nerve-wracking. But you're being criticized even at your at the finest inflection of a word, so that's the kind of life I was brought up with in music. That, okay, you want to get snobby on me, I'll get really fucking snobby on you
To be
and
fair,
say that the way they say this word is wrong.
when you're truly invested in something, when you are balls deep within something that you are passionate about, everyone tends to become a snob to the point where outside opinions, even if they have no tangible connection to what you love, Because normally I actually think an outsider opinion for the most part is actually incredibly handy because they see things in a more neutral way. But then you yourself become closed off to other opinions. And I think that's a really negative quality for the most part because you really don't understand. Some people will then, for example, say you're a huge fan of musicals and someone isn't, but then they point out some flaws within musicals and you can't see it. What does that say about you? If you can't see what they're trying to say, it's a weakness.
You're too closed off.
Yeah, it's a weakness, and I don't like that. I'm sure I'm a snob about something, by the way. I'm sure I am. I've never thought about it long and hard enough, but I'm sure I am. No one's. I don't think anyone's an
long
exception.
and hard.
Right. I also said balls deep earlier.
I heard that. That one was too easy.
Yeah, but then it's always going to be a case that someone won't be able to see what others can perceive, especially if they're not involved. It's like the argument. Oh god, actually, not the best. One of the worst comparisons, I guess, is it's the shutdown argument of, but you're not a part of it, so you cannot talk about it. Okay, you're a genius. Thank you for your help.
Well, what's interesting is that though we're talking about music, this has a lot of political ramifications too, just by the nature of that idea of closed-mindedness.
Yes.
That there was actually some posts that were going through Twitter where people said that Democrats said that if they got coronavirus, they would go to Trump rallies.
Yes, I actually saw that.
People.
I saw that. But I also saw people say that they were okay with people, if they were Republicans, dying. I retweeted, actually, I think, because someone was wishing death upon people because of how they voted. And I'm like, you don't ever, never, ever wish death upon anyone. I know someone's going to say,
I had commented back. I'm like, that rhetoric is really common.
Yes. I know someone then will say, what about sex offenders? What about murderers and all this? No. Don't wish death upon them. Death is easy. It's also really bad optics, okay? Really bad.
Wish for suffering.
Yeah. I'm all for suffering, okay? I would choose that over death because it's just bad, okay? You don't wish death on someone, okay? Mm-hmm. Never do that.
I sometimes deviate. There are very few instances where I do, but there are like 3 main ones that I deviate from because I think that the world is better off without people like that.
That's fine.
But that's just my opinion. I have a whole stream where I went off on with Bad Tempered Badger about that whole shit. That was a good time.
Actually, yeah, I remember that stream because I have watched it. I think I've watched it. Yeah, because it's on your channel, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I've watched it. Yeah. Because you told me about it at first. Yeah, it was good stuff. You should do it more often.
I should. We've been trying to organize one for like a couple months now, but every time we have a weekend, someone has something to do.
Okay. Would you be okay with me covering the final story I had planned for today?
Oh, absolutely, please.
So, as is customary for any person that sits within high office and resigns, they are permitted a forum, a chance to stand up in the Commons, and it is customary that the majority of MPs are there for this, and the MP that has resigned is given a chance to give a speech. Sajid Javid, the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, was given this honour. Now, many people wanted him to then explain why he stepped down, and that's what he did. He actually tweeted this out, the video of it, and it got a lot of debates going on. A number of MPs took sides in this, some agreeing with his arguments, because actually I tend to agree with Sajid Javid on this. Others saying, no, because we need the Chancellor and the Prime Minister to not only be in unity, but in sync, so that they create a truly strong and obviously then level up the country. During the speech, so for those who don't know, when the Prime Minister reshuffled his cabinet, Dominic Cummings wanted Sajid Javid. Dominic Cummings is the chief advisor to Boris Johnson. Basically, he's the Prime Minister. And he wanted Sajid Javid to fire all his advisors so that number 10 could establish a number 10, number 11 team. The Chancellor lives in number 11 Downing Street, by the way. And Sajid Javid rejected this, had a very lengthy meeting with the Prime Minister, And he wanted to be Chancellor. He wanted to stay there as Chancellor because he wanted to make sure that there was a very sensible approach to the economy and not simply, now let's just borrow loads of money after we've just tried to get the deficit down, yet borrowing is expected to go up next year. We really shouldn't be doing this, which is his approach. But they couldn't agree on a deal, which then meant that the then Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Rishi Sunak, was made the Chino, which is an acronym for Chancellor in Name Only. Because if you're not really doing the job and the job is being done by number 10, why are you even there to begin with? Which is actually a title, kind of, a version of it, what the Brexit Secretary was when it was Dominic Raab and Stephen Barclay under Theresa May. They were Brexit Secretary in name only, really, because she was doing all the negotiating, and I say negotiating with air quotes. Now, during this speech, Sajid Javid said it has always been the case that advisors advise, ministers decide, and ministers decide on their advisors. I couldn't see why the Treasury, with the vital role that it plays, should be the exception to that. And I tend to agree. While there should be some unity between both the Prime Minister and, of course, the Chancellor, there should be the separation, and it should be down to those ministers to decide who is working for them. It shouldn't be decided by the top, we don't want these people, you've got to have our people. Because that's an interference. And with the Prime Minister still not giving any indication what his economic policy is in the first place, I'll be honest, I'd rather it been Sajid Javid, because at least we vaguely knew what he wanted to do in the first place. And we're kind of being put back here with the next, budget, because we don't know if it's going to happen on the 11th of March or not. Continuing with that, he said that the Chancellor of the day has to give candid advice, so he is speaking truth to power, and that I believe that the arrangement proposed would significantly inhibit that, and it would not have been in the national interest. So while I was grateful for the continued trust of the Prime Minister in wanting to reappoint me, I'm afraid that these conditions that I could not accept in good conscience. Which I can kind of get. He did praise Rishi Sunak. He does believe he'll do a good job. Hard to believe a billionaire wouldn't do a good job. I mean, if worse comes to worse, he could just borrow the money from himself. I mean, he really could, actually, not even a joke. The budget is due on the 11th, but, and this is where the deviation comes, Sajid Javid warned that new borrowing under the current fiscal rules would be a problem, because while you want to level up across generations, it would not be right to pass a bill for our day-to-day consumption to be brought up by borrowing again. And that's a huge issue, because it's going to be the first budget under Boris Johnson, and realistically the only thing he can do to be impressive is to borrow more money, which isn't impressive at all. If your intention is to, when we've just come out of austerity, to keep borrowing, that will eventually put us back into austerity under the pretense that, because we're levelling up, we'll be able to pay off that debt really soon, which is not how it works. It didn't work before, and it won't work again. I do believe that, we could do well, we really could, but I don't believe we're going to do well if the intention is to be reckless about it. And Sajid Javid's position is the Prime Minister's office should not be interfering with the Chancellor's office and telling them who advises. And I think it's because Sajid Javid held a position that was a bit more neutral compared to that of, let's say, Dominic Cummings, the Prime Minister, who wanted to be in absolute control of every facet of the key departments of the government. And the Chancellor of the Exchequer is one of the most powerful ones in the country. No one really cares about the Foreign Office, because, seriously, who cares? Home Secretary? Okay, sure. May as well, since we've got the immigration thing going through, and that's going ahead. Really, none of the others are as important. Not as important, certainly, when it comes to power, which I'm actually somewhat surprised they haven't tried to micromanage Priti Patel's office then. But if they do, I won't be surprised, considering how popular she is, though, within the party, with the current accusations of people bullying her and then her being accused of bullying. Yeah, perhaps not best to jump on that one just yet. So why can't the Chancellor choose their own advisors? They can. Leslie, they actually can. And this is where the problem is. Because Dominic Cummings, Prime Minister Dominic Cummings, and we're going to keep doing that because he is undermining Boris. He's a race realist, by the way. It's very funny. He wanted his advisors to be working there instead of the Chancellor having their own advisors. The argument of a number of people who support this is that by working together, they can work together and achieve great things. I think you lose the influence of someone having a bit more of a level-headed perspective if you've got the advisors telling the Chancellor what to do and not giving them a chance to properly work it out and give an actual answer, which is where the problems, I believe, are in the first place. I'm going to link, by the way, an article related to all of this for those in the chat. There it is. By all means, check it out. What do you... and since you're an outsider on this, Traps, what do you think when it comes to differing departments being told they must get rid of all their advisors? And let's say apply it to your politics if you want.
So, when it comes to, especially when you have over time, basically a cluster of different advisors from different administrations who have been appointed by people with very different politics for very different reasons, it does make sense to eventually clean house. In the United States, Trump has basically coined that draining the swamp, but that's because he thinks that the advisors who are in the roles that they are now are toxic, essentially.
Okay.
It's not too bizarre, honestly, to me, to hear from somebody who is either on their side or not, honestly, to encourage Boris to clean house and reappoint, advisors that are more to the interests of the party at this point.
Yeah.
Especially after looking at what the Conservatives were right before this and the Conservatives afterwards. I mean, you had how many people flip parties in the last year?
Oh, too many to count.
Plenty, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a strange thing to imagine that a bunch of people have either seen or felt something that has changed their opinion and maybe said to themselves, maybe I agree with the other side in this, but I like this job, so I want to keep it. Well, then at that point, it's up to the prime minister or whomever the advisor is that handles that department to then go in, clean house, and reappoint people who are on the same page. A machine only works when all the pieces are doing what they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's more or less what my whole thoughts are.
Yeah, I think it's a fair position. I don't think Sajid Javid should have gone. I don't know enough about Rishi Sunak yet. I think he needs to have a chance. I do think Sajid Javid should have stayed, but I don't think the Prime Minister was right to allow his advisor to dictate terms for a Chancellor and who they should have to advise them. That's not how it should work at all. In fact,
that's the thing. Also, if you appoint that advisor, then yeah, they should have the rules. But if they step out of line, then of course,
I think advisors advise though. They shouldn't then be dictating terms to other. They shouldn't be dictating terms to other ministers because they're just an advisor to a minister. Yes, he's the Prime Minister, but it doesn't mean he has a preferential position over that or any more additional power to that of the Chancellor. The Chancellor, I'd argue he's as powerful as the Deputy, more powerful than the Deputy, in fact. He really is, or the President of the Lord of the Privy Council, or whatever. He's more powerful than most of them. I'd argue he's second to the Prime Minister. He's the advisor to the Prime Minister is still beneath a backbencher because they're an advisor. And that's what Dominic Cummings is. He shouldn't be dictating terms for other ministers. No, it should always be the advisors advise, ministers decide. But I do agree with your perspective on this. It's quite, handy to have. I did change the image for everyone because some people complained.
I was wondering about that. I'm like, but you've been going on about UK politics, but you still got Biden's creepy ass face
It's
staring at you.
such a good face, though.
Well, you need to Photoshop it or something and make it
Maybe
into a
I'll.
meme.
Listeners, if you're still there, could you please, if I give you the picture, could you please make a cartoon of it? I would greatly
Ooh,
appreciate
yeah.
it. Yes. We have been going on for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm very grateful for those who have stayed here. It was meant to be Trupp's hosting, but he'll do it next week because I don't
Yep.
care. It's all good. Is there anything? I know you put out a new video. Is there anything you would like to shill before we finish?
No, that's gonna be it. I think for me, just the video that I have up on my channel. Go check it out. It's about Corona.
I will, for those who want it, I'm going to link the video in the chat because, well, I would actually, but there's a stupid coronavirus WTO thing blocking it. Let's see, Trupp's Loop LP video. There you go. No, because the stupid letter. My finger slipped on the keyboard. There you go. There's the video. Please go there and smash like on it because it needs more attention. It always does. And I'm sure it'd appreciate it. I'm not going to shill anything. I'm going away tomorrow, and then I've got to make a video for I Rate Alex, and then I've got to do other things.
Fun, exciting.
Yeah. All right. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you very much for smashing like and engaging, because no trolls today. I'm actually somewhat surprised. Say good night, Trupsy Wupsy.
Good night, Trupsy Wupsy.
That sounded so much better in your voice.